Welcome to another episode of the Prep Coach podcast. And we have a special guest today, Cherilyn. She's a business owner. She owns a gym, GMF. She is the posing coach at the Posing Queens. But more importantly, she's a wife and she's a mum. And that's where I wanted to start this discussion because on social media, I see you with your family and they're always having a massive smile on their face. They're having a lot of fun. The kids are always joking around with you and Grayden. And I just want to talk a little bit about like just juggling that mum life, family, multiple businesses. How do you keep everyone happy? How do you keep yourself happy and do what you need to do? So maybe you want to start with that and tell me, are your kids as picture perfect as what they look like online?
Okay. Well, thank you for that introductory. I'm very happy to be on here. It is my first time, and I'm actually really grateful that we get to kind of have this chat. No one, I mean, not to say no one really sees me, but more so I am kind of, again, a part of like this big family, yes. And I'm going to say I'm going to be the glue to the family, maybe. But you're right. Like, I am a mum of two. So with our family, it is very much whatever we like to put out is who we are. We're very genuine. I think that's what comes across when you see us. So when you see me, there's this thing I do every morning, or hope to do every morning. I do like this little boomerang on Instagram with the
Yeah.
kids. I
Yes,
don't know if
yes.
you
I saw it
saw it.
today. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
I saw one today. So the kids are back at school. That's my little kind of, or our little thing to say hi, good morning to dad. So dad's already at work, Grayden, my husband, and the kids don't get to see him, of course, because he's already at work. So we kind of do this little boomerang just to give him like a hello. And I guess it panned into everyone liking that too. Like I have some of my members say, oh, wow, it was nice to see the kids this morning or whatever they do. But they're pretty much what you see is what they get. They're very happy. They're very content. They're very healthy. I think that's what we kind of establish, with our upbringing for them. They did grow up in a gym. So um, they are going to be somewhat, I guess, little mini me's. Maximus, my son, he's already mentioned about bodybuilding and training, which I think that's really admirable at an age that he's only 11, but he already aspires to want to compete, I think. And what is the age by in NBA standards of like how old can you start?
I actually need to ask this question to Stu because, funnily enough, we've actually got some questions about this. I believe it's 16 and above, but I'll
Okay.
have to clarify that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and he's aspiring to that. So he's working towards that. So I think Grayden and I said maybe 15 and up, we can see where you can begin. But yeah, they're very much involved, a part of, our lifestyle. Um, Moving into like juggling everything. That's what most of my women ask me.
Yeah.
I'm very organized. So organization, I'd have to admit that comes from my previous background. So my previous background before owning a gym or being a coach, I was actually a wedding manager slash coordinator.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was part of a big kind of step forward into this transition of me being my own person or my own business owner. I had to manage a lot of things, and I think that really stepped up to how I am today. And I always say, like, I have a list, I have to get it done. If I don't see it there, it won't get done. But I think that's what plays really well with trying to juggle everything.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that, and now it's clicking into place because you had your wedding anniversary recently overseas. Is that right? And when I saw like the whole production of it all and the video, and I was like, okay, now it makes sense. Like, did you organize that? I'm sure, or maybe someone helped you.
Yeah, no, I did. I kind of took that brave attempt. I had worked in the industry for like I would say close to 3 to 4 years. But I knew Grayden and I we like to elope. So and I heard you're getting married this
That's
year,
right.
correct?
Yes, that's right.
So
Yeah.
overseas was, an easy choice, and we got married in Philippines, which is where I'm from, and Boracay is the island we got married. So that was about 7 years ago now. So it's been really good. Yeah.
Wow, that would have been cool. Just obviously to have the kids there too, right? Like during that anniversary celebration, that would have been fun.
And I have to say, Grayden has always been like manifesting things. So when we first got together, he always said to me, "I'm gonna have kids at our wedding," and I was like, "Hang on a minute, like, how do you know that?" And it was true. We actually had Max. I was 25 at the time, and we were quite young, but at the same time, it didn't bother us. It was just, willingly he was ready to come along, and
Mhm.
then we planned for Alexis, and then he said, I can't wait now. And then marriage was really, for us, having a wedding was the party. It was like kind of like the
Mhm.
celebration. So that was beautiful. Yeah. So I think even as young as they were, they get to look back at the photos and the images and the videos that they were a part of that. So
Yeah,
I was really happy that they were there.
that's incredible. That's so good. All right, let's bring it back. Let's talk a little bit about you as an athlete. So you obviously have competed in the past. I'm not too sure what the plans are moving forward. Maybe you might want to tell me, but
Okay.
tell me a little bit about like your competitive career and maybe when if you did your first ever show and what federation was it, and then we can have a bit of a laugh about how things have changed since then.
Yes, they definitely have evolved. Okay, how I got into bodybuilding, of course, my husband Grayden. So he first competed back in 2011. So me as his partner, I went through the highs and lows through the prep, and it was his first prep, and I really got to indulge in and immerse myself along with him. So I thought that was a beautiful journey. And then I didn't realize that bodybuilding was for women. Like, I think bodybuilding back then was just for men, or,
Yeah,
the highlight for women wasn't in the forefront, maybe.
of course. Yeah.
The following year, I competed. So that was my first show in 2012.
Wow.
I
Mhm.
competed with A and B because at the time A and B was the biggest
Yep.
natural federation. That was back with Rob Powell, the original owner. Again, wonderful man, ran really beautiful shows back then. And I'm going to say old school vibe, like it was a very old school mentality. And I liked that about the shows.
Mhm.
So that was in 2012. I did a season B show, and I think my first one was in Newcastle.
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And back then, I don't know, Michael, if you remembered, but we had to do a close to 60-second routine in our bikini or fitness category. Do you
That's
remember
right.
those?
So you know what's funny is because I was thinking about this before we came on. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I've competed in the same show as Grayden
Really?
because I competed for the first time in 2011, right?
Yes.
And I went to season B nationals for A and B in Sydney. And I'm trying to think of the sports club or complex they had it at.
Marconi Club
That's the
in
one.
West. Yep,
Yes.
Marconi Club.
So
Yep.
I was there and I was like, I'm sure Grayden was there too. I'm sure he
Yes.
was there. Cool. So it was him that I remember seeing, right?
And
Because there
he won the under 70s
that's right.
bodybuilding
Yes.
category.
So I
Yes.
remember this. It's all ringing a bell because I was like, I'm sure I've seen Grayden. I'm sure that was him back then when I competed. And I was like in awe of his physique. And I remember how bodybuilding was back there. You're right. Like for females, it was bigger or
Yes, because
some,
it's a
yep,
massive.
yep,
Yes.
or it was some kind of like model. That was like it was
Yeah,
like a model division, but it
that
was
was
yeah, it was like a theme wear, but then you came out in a bikini. It was like a 2 round thing, but it was no way as big as what female physique sport is right now. Like it's bigger than
exactly.
males when you think about it. So yes, I know exactly where you come from. I know how much it's evolved and how you had to do the. Yeah, do you remember what your theme wear was or what your?
I can remember clearly because what I'm about to share, I have shared it within my Posing Queens workshops. I vividly remember being Beyonce.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So wearing that really beautiful kind of sequin
Mhm.
glitter leotard, and her song back in, the early 2000s was a hit. So I even hired, at the time, I hired a dance choreographer just so I could get this really pat down.
Wow.
Um, so once I did that, Michael, you wouldn't believe I actually fell on stage during my performance. Yes, this is how I can never forget this
Oh,
moment.
God.
So I'm on stage, and mind you, it was so long we had to wait for every individual to get on. And it was such a big highlight for the women. We all loved seeing her back then. But prior to me getting on, there was a competitor who dressed up. And do you remember the song Milkshake? Like
Yes.
Milkshake?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
she actually had Milkshake on stage,
Oh, my
like
God.
actual milkshake, and it fell. And they had to clean it up as much as they could, with that kind of high risk factor, someone's going to fall down, and that was me
Oh,
right
no.
after that. The one thing I would take away is I got up, I fell down, but I got up. I finished my routine in like to the music as well, which was actually really quite, I don't know how I did that, but I finished it. And then I ran off stage and I was completely mortified. I don't know what happened. There were so many mixed emotions, but I actually was sort of in really happy that I did it. Like I finished it, and you could just hear a pin drop. When someone just like it's just so quiet.
Yeah.
How quiet it was.
Oh, no. Oh, well, good on you for like, that's a, obviously that's a true testament to your character and something that, you should tell your girls, if you trip over or something, I've done worse. Trust me, I've done worse.
Oh yeah, that story definitely comes out, and I really highlight it to the beginners. And even if you're seasoned, I think it's just how you recover and how you pick yourself up and show up for yourself, and that no matter what mistake happens, like they're really not going to pick on it or look at it. It's just, I guess, how you can feel for yourself and really like own that part. So yeah, I think it was kind of blessing in disguise. It really showed how like adversity can really test you at
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
any part of your life.
I love that. I love that. So that was 2012.
12,
Yep.
yes.
What was the journey like after that?
So after 2012, I actually fell pregnant with Max. So that
Mhm.
was the kind of like, oh, okay. I was fine. I kind of was like, yeah, I enjoyed that. I stayed within the bodybuilding industry because we already had established GMF in 2010.
Mhm.
So I started. When having children, I just sort of more immersed myself in the background. That's when I started posing. So in house, I did help any kind of competitor, female figure, all of that with the posing component. And that really grew really well. I enjoyed that. I was pretty much at every show after that. So,
Wow.
you know, um, I took a 7-year break. Can you believe that? 7 years.
Wow.
Um, and then, but every show I attended. So from
Mhm.
season A to a season B, Grayden and I would always be at competition. So I was constantly immersed in bodybuilding.
Yep.
Um, with me returning to stage, I actually remembered the category Bikini Mamas get
Mhm.
released.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that year was 2019. I think I don't know if my history is right, if they brought it out that year or the year before, but I remembered 2019, they said Bikini Mamas. And that was my kind of fire, my return, because I'm a mum of two. And I think going back, I had more purpose and I felt great being up there with other mothers. And your body does change. And I think I can
Mhm.
speak that for all mums is that it does really do, having kids changes you
Mhm.
for the better, but I think in an even playing field on a bodybuilding competition, when you are being judged on your physique, I felt that was really a very graceful kind of way to enter back.
Mhm.
So that was a big year for me. I remember entering my first comp was INBA, and I did well. I won that. So that was the
Wow.
Miss Bikini Mama. I only went for Miss Bikini Mama. So I was like, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
My second show, I went to my ever first ICN New South Wales state show.
Hmm.
And that was cool because I'd never been to an ICN show. I'd never watched one, which I felt really bad about. But I walked away winning the New South Wales State Bikini Mama Championship
Oh,
title,
wow. So good.
up against 11 gorgeous moms. And that was a
Wow.
huge lineup. 11, yeah, 11. Um, Followed by NBA. So I went to NBA and I did their first season B national show in 2019. And I won that one particularly. I won, which I was very proud of, the Miss Swimsuit category.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
So back then there were no pro cards then, but at the time I felt swimsuit again related to me because again, you got to wear a beautiful one piece, and I think you could still relate to mums, with stomach and kind of
Hmm.
stretch marks and things, but I still felt really beautiful in that category. So that was uh, really special because I remember Stu at my recent workshop last year when you came down. He said to me, Shez, do you remember that you were the one that introduced Bikini Mamas to NBA? And I said, I did. And he goes, yes, you did.
Oh,
and and I really remember, and then I had to really remember, and I said, oh my God, yes, you're right, because I think I had one, and then we were having discussions about like the category, and I said to him, there are a lot of mums that would love to compete with NBA, so why wouldn't you not want to, bring that out? And yeah, so he reminded me at the time that, yeah, I helped him sort of say, yeah, let's do it for the mums. So I was really happy about that.
that's awesome that, you kind of kicked off that process that now, honestly, it's a really, really, big category. And we obviously do it across all the divisions, not only bikini, but the rest of them too. So
Yes.
that's really,
And
very
I
exciting. Yeah.
actually, that's really one thing I'm very proud of MBA is that you guys also moved it into other categories such as fitness and figure, because other federations weren't doing that. They were just sticking sort of its own bikini, and then slowly they started to merge into your fitness and your figure, ladies. So which again, I think it's a phenomenal thing you guys did. So that was really cool. I finished in 2019 going to the ICN World in Melbourne. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you were there at the
Yep.
time.
I was definitely there. Yep. Hmm.
Were you competing as well or no?
No, just had athletes. Yeah.
I just had athletes. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was cool because again, I didn't expect to do another show. I thought after NBA that was it. But Grayden that year, like we were like, no, we're all going as a team. I think we had myself, Grayden, and we had a team of maybe like by then it would have been 6 or 7 competitors
Wow.
we took with us. So we had a strong team.
Mm.
And I came third in the world. So I was really proud of.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
so
that was
good.
ICN third in the world, and I thought that was great. But the first and second was great because we were all from New South Wales, so we were all going, "Yay!" Australia's winning.
That was a
um,
really big show. I remember at the Expo Center 2019, 2018, 2019, the ICN Worlds, or it was Worlds and Nationals, depending on which year you went. But yeah, they
yes,
were really, really big shows. So I do remember those clearly. Yeah, great. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah, that was huge. And then I think that was it for me competing. Yeah, 2019 was such a huge year for me. For both Grayden and I, that was the only year we both competed. And that year, speaking of Grayden, he won all of the classics. So
Yeah.
from season A, season A to season B, he entered in 10 shows and won it all. So that was massive for him. Yeah.
Incredible, incredible. So actually talking about him and talking about comebacks,
Yes.
maybe talking about you, he's having a comeback, and we can
He
talk about
is.
that. But what about you? Are you gonna have a comeback? Are you thinking
My
about it?
comeback, yeah. Actually, before I say the comeback, I still competed again. My last show, sorry, was in 2022. So, I competed and I went to another federation, Miss Fitness Australia.
Oh, yes, you did. I remember.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
that
yes.
one other federation I wanted to give a go. I thought it was something that was different. It was all female kind of federation, and they did lots of beautiful things with, your evening wear, a gala night. Like they had all the bells and whistles. I walked away winning the Miss Classic. Bikini Classic, which is like your one-piece swimsuit for Miss Fitness. So I won my pro card there, which was really special. I felt
Yeah.
I have no expectation winning pro cards. I think it's one of these things. I like being an amateur. I don't know how many coaches or people say like you like to be an amateur, but I do. But when I won that pro card, I felt like, wow, that was phenomenal. It kind of was like, again, a whirlwind of emotions. I loved performing. I think that's why with posing, I love performing, and that stage really gave me that exposure to do different styles of posing and the walk. No different to MBA, you guys give the women an eye walk, that kind of
Mhm.
personalized presentation for each athlete, which is really special.
Mhm.
And then I finished at the ICN Nationals and I won the Miss Bikini Mama National title for season B that year. So,
Wow. I think I was
yeah,
there. I think I might have been there at that show. Yeah.
yeah, that was good too because it was sort of like from my 2019 journey to me winning a national title for 2022. I felt that was it. That was what I really wanted, and I was really happy. So that was my last time competing. Me coming back, I have goals. I do. I
Mhm.
haven't done a pro debut. Um, I would love to, I would love to go back with you guys for NBA. I know that's something in the pipeline. So that's something I want to work towards. Maybe another federation, I'm not too sure. I probably will look at maybe give myself another 2 years, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Keep us posted. I'll be
Maybe next
asking you.
year, I don't know.
Whenever you start posting like check-in videos or pose,
Oh,
we're like, hey, is it coming? Is it coming?
yeah, like I'm always, Michael, I'm always bodybuilding, it's my
Sure.
lifestyle. I still train. I still eat the same way. I think if anything, what is holding me right now is just my clients. Like I want to give all my attention, not only to my posing clients, but my lifestyle and also the girls. I do have a handful of prep or athletes that I get ready for comp. So that takes a lot of, a lot of time to put in for your athletes. So I think that's where my focus is right now.
Yeah, definitely. And you want to tell me a little bit about Grayden's comeback?
Yeah, Grayden. So he hasn't competed again since 2019. So it's been six years.
Mhm.
Yes. Um, his return to stage is really special. I think this time around, he's already kind of for us. We've already said he's beaten that last package, so he's looking really, really good. And we're excited for the upcoming show. So that's really special. The first one we've kind of locked in is the ICN ACT, which is the classic gold class invitational. So
Mhm.
I really do believe that type of event or what ACT have come up with is a great way for not only all athletes, but the very much your pros, but the gentlemen that have all won their their titles or their overall winners.
Mhm.
So that's a great way to celebrate them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We He will most likely come to your NBA. We were just sort of seeing where all the dates align. So I think that's all looking great. And then he would like to finish in Perth, and that's for ICN as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously the kids will be there.
Oh, yes. This one, I think I was saying, they will remember this one. I
Yeah, of
think that's
course they
what
will.
I'm
Yeah.
most likely looking forward to is that they will. And, Lexi, my daughter, she's already saying to me, oh, can I bring my iPad, Dad? Can I film you? And we were saying, are you ready? Like if Daddy wins or if he's on stage, are you all willing to come up again? And they're ready. Like,
Oh, I love
so
that.
yeah, they're really excited.
That's gonna be so special for him and you guys in the family. That's amazing. 'Cause that's the first thing I thought about too, is like the kids are gonna be old enough now to remember it. and to
Yes,
experience with
yes.
you guys. So that's going to be
Yeah,
so cool.
Max remembers the other one, but not
Yeah,
Lexi. She was quite little at the time. So
yeah,
yeah, so she'd be really, really pumped to see him.
yeah. It's so good. All right, let's go back to posing. All right, so
Okay.
it's obviously changed a hell of a lot since
Oh,
2011. Yeah.
yes, it has.
I want to start with, you spoke about choreography, and obviously you had someone help you back then. Do you see posing as almost like choreography where you need to like learn the steps? And is that kind of how you teach it? What's your
I
process
do.
of teaching? Because I've been to a lot of posing coach workshops, but also one-on-ones with my clients. And every coach does it slightly different. Like I know coaches that will teach it in more of a stepwise approach where it'll be, we just learn footwork. Then the next session is the transitions of the footwork. The next session is implementing the arms, etc. But then I've also had a posing coach that's like, okay, we're gonna do it in chronological order. You walk out on stage, let's practice that first. Then you
Yes.
come to the front line, then we'll practice that first. Then you get told to judge, we'll practice that next. So they actually do it in like a time, like chronological order. How do you kind of sequence it, and how do you teach your clients?
Um, that's very great, like how you have that kind of inside knowledge with other coaches. I agree to everything you've said. I think I use mo- structurally, I'm more structure, so I like foundations. I like setting, your footwork first, and then kind of work our way all the way up to the body. And it does require some mastering, so I probably would say my background as well. I previously, Grayden and I, we were also a martial artist gym, so we both specialize in karate. So
Mhm,
karate for me, it's, step, step until you get that. It's like we're not moving on. So I think I've ingrained that a little bit in my posing. But the women love it because it's very easy to follow, but
mhm.
also I also specialize with each individual to tailor it so they can understand it. So
Yes.
I'm not going to say I should always do it this way for a particular client because that person might not be able to gravitate to what I'm explaining. So then I'll try something else. So I'm very much, I want to be as flexible for the client and the posing queen because will have, they take on it differently. But I still have that kind of step to step basis where I like to get them that foundation. And then, of course, chronically show them how, such as like walking on the stage, moving between the girls and then your comparison. So we definitely go through all of that as well.
Is there a common theme of what people find the most difficult? So is it walking is the most difficult? Is it the hands that's the most difficult? Is it the facial expressions? Like what remembering to smile all the time? Like what is it that you
Yeah,
what is it
I
common with people?
I'm gonna say majority of the women is going to be walking. I don't know what it is. They really fear about their own walk. I've always taught my queens that no walk is the same. Right. So I'm not going to say to all of my women, you have to walk like this. So I teach them a foundation, but I get them to master their own walk because I don't want them to look like the other girl, because you need to look unique. You need to stand out. You need to be yourself. And only doing that is by I go by my own quote is own your craft. Like I always say that about all of it is you have to own yourself, your own personality, and the more they feel like themselves, the better they walk because they don't have to think I've got to walk a certain way, the duck walk or the a sassy walk or like that kind of awkwardness walk. And then when they do, they get so rigid and then they start to stiffen up. So I basically pull it back and I simplify it. And then I even have this saying like we're going out on the town, we're dressed up, we're going to have fun, and they feel more relaxed.
Mhm.
So I kind of take them internally to say just be really simple about it, and the more simple you are, the more you're going to look like yourself and not like trying to be either or what you think you should look like.
Yeah, I agree. I think the walk is one of the most difficult things that they find, definitely.
Mm.
Um, Also think the next thing is the twisting and turning. So, the mobility of, your hips have got to be one way, but your shoulders are got to be the other way. Does that kind of make sense? So, do you find the
Yes.
same, that kind of mobility of twisting and turning?
Yeah, I agree. Like most of the women that come in, I might ask them, do you stretch? Do you foam roll? Do you do any type of mobility? And they say no. And I think that's the first conversation I have after I've asked them, what are your goals? I haven't even talked about posing. I've just asked them purely, are you stretching? And they say no. So I think that's a big tick for anyone that's listening to really prioritize that. So yeah, you're right. Like your body is contorted. You need to know that your spine is literally one way, and there's always the lats and shoulder never comes out, but that's purely because your thoracic is not really, mobile enough to get there. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, you raise a really good point because that was going to be my next thing is like the lats and the shoulders and the width and flaring and is difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I can have a girl stand straight on and she's got a great V taper. The moment I turn her to a quarter turn to her left side, she's lost it.
Yeah.
And I think that's some art form, yes, but I also feel like they need to do their work, which is go and stretch, go and get your mobility checked out or flexibility and really work on that. And if that is one thing you can do every day that you don't even need to be taught on, that's going to benefit you in your posing.
100%. So then the next thing is say they've got it all right. They know how to walk, they've got the lat flare happening, the twisting and turning, practicing. How often should
Yeah.
they practice and practicing in front of a mirror or not a mirror, recording yourself? Like, what do you recommend?
I'm gonna say from a beginner, but I also say even seasoned girls, I don't like practicing no more than half an hour
Mhm,
because the attention span is enough, but also you're not fatiguing yourself.
mhm.
I like to give my women homework. So, a lot for me is about giving them a couple of things to work on from our lesson, understanding what they need to really, go away for the week and practice just for that 30 minutes. But they have something to work on and not just going in and trying to do everything because you can't do everything, and then we compound it, we make it better, we get better at this, and we kind of knuckle it down. And then, I still say 30 minutes is great. Videotaping is a must. I work heavily on visuals. I'm a very visual learner for my girls. And then mirror, we take away the mirror. I think that's another thing that most of the beginners don't want to do just yet, but you have to be very confident to take the mirror away at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, taking the mirror away is something that I think people don't think about too much because they're like, well, how do I know if I'm doing it right if I can't see myself doing it? But you can't see yourself doing it when you're on stage, so you kind of need to practice it.
And it's all about a feeling, and I think even when I was doing martial arts, everything we felt, everything, from where our hands are to where our head was, you really have to stay connected with your body. So I really ensure that we are at one point going, okay, no more mirror, and I'll flip the girls around. We'll get out the video, we'll get out the camera, and then whatever they see on the camera is what I say that is your judge or that is an audience member or your family watching you. So what do you see when you look back? So how can you self-critique? And I think that's great because if they can start self-critiquing themselves, they can go away and be like, oh, my shoulder's not here and my hair, I've got to move it off my shoulder. Like that's when they really get that extra second pair of eyes, because even though I'm working with them, I feel like they need to see what I see. So I give them the vision and they need to study it. And then once they study it, then we really gel in terms of working very cohesively to kind of, that's what I want to look like on stage.
That's awesome. You brought a really good point up about being aware of
Mm,
where your body is, where it's, where it sits and what what level shoulders feel like and what a flared lat feels like and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we train a lot in the gym and we get this mind muscle connection, right? But then we should have that with posing as well. We should know that this is what my shoulders should feel like, and that's when they're level, etc. So yeah, I love that you brought that up about having awareness of how your body should feel when the pose is done right.
That's right. Yeah. And then you will get connected, and then it's no different to training. You'll remember it, how to, pull your lats down, or again, flare your lats out, things like that. So yeah, they start to resonate with them.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you, is there a pose, a structured pose that that a federation has that you just
Mhm.
don't like? Like you're just not vibing that
Oh,
standard
okay.
pose. So I'll tell you mine just to kick it off, so you can kind
Okay.
of know
Okay.
what kind of answer to give. But and let's talk about females because that's majority of what I coach in yourself. But
Yeah.
I I don't like the quarter turns, the side poses. Like so for NBA, it's sports and fitness still. Bikini only do half turns for us. But those
Mhm.
side poses that I'm not a fan of them. Only certain
And
people look great in them.
is that the side pose like an IFBB front pose, or is that with the legs together?
The legs together and like the leg closest to the judge is bent. Yep. So that,
Okay.
that knee
Yes.
is bent like a
Yes.
side quarter turn pose. I'm not a fan.
Is it But is it also, it's like a side chest for men in bodybuilding where their
Yeah.
legs are, like,
Yeah.
is that the one?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
one. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. All
Yeah.
right. No, I agree. Some of that particular pose, that side pose that you mentioned, don't look great on some of the women.
Mhm.
And I teach it, but I say I edit. So I'll
Mhm.
teach a woman how to do all of these poses, but I will refine it, and I'll say that one doesn't suit you, according to your physique. My one, oh gosh. Okay, I guess maybe I'm viewing this from a different state, but the front sports model pose where their leg is flared out,
Yes.
but their
Yeah.
toes turned down. Do you
Yes.
know that one? And then
Yeah.
their bum is like up in the sky, but the toes turned the other way. I'm
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan. Yeah. Do you know which one I'm talking
I
about?
know, because
Yeah.
that was gonna be my second one is like there's those front poses
Yeah.
but there's some that look great, but there's so many different ways people like they twist their hip one way and the legs go on the other way, and then sometimes the leg is bent, sometimes the leg is straight, sometimes the toe is pointed, sometimes it's rotated in. But I know, I know which one you're talking about. It's almost like they're
Yeah.
dislocating the hip, like it's like
Yeah.
they're popping that leg out. It's
And
yeah, not a
I don't
fan.
know, I don't understand the toe going down, because then the quad like rotates in, and you're meant to want to see your quad kind of,
Yeah,
turn out and show the sweep in your quad, the hard work you put on all in that muscle group. And
yeah.
it's just wrong. So that one would have to be my worst pose, if but I see it, I just ignore it.
I completely agree. I'm an advocate on, wanting the lineup to be posing the same so that judges
Yes.
can, judge them correctly. But I understand that there needs to be some flexibility. And I guess in bikini, last year we brought in the front pose must be done a certain way and the back pose must be done a certain way so we can get that consistency. Now with sports and fitness, there's only one way you can really do a back pose for us. It has to be hands up. There are some states in some federations that allow to do like a hands down back pose, but it's pretty
Mhm.
rare. But
Yes.
it's more so the front pose in like sports fitness for us can vary. It can be side on like a bikini front pose, if you call it that, or more
Yes.
front on. Um,
On front. Yeah.
and I get because, for instance, if you want to pick that front on front pose, you'd probably pick it if you had great quads but not great glutes because you can't really see them in that pose. But
That's right. Yes.
if you were to do the, let's call it the bikini front pose in sports or fitness, if you've got great glutes, then you want to hit that pose because you can see the projection in it, right? So do you ever look at someone's physique and be like, okay, we need to pose this way because you have this weakness, this strength. The judges are going to look for it. We need to hide it. Do you ever do that kind of?
All the time. I think that's what all the time in terms of that is uh me saying to them, like, because they don't see it. So I guess when I look at a physique, I will always want to see all of them. And then when we pick the poses and when they sit in it, but again, along with the journey, like, that, you know, 12 weeks out looks completely different to an 8 week out, competition. And then they start to change. So I'm always saying to the girls, be ready that I will say to you, we have to adjust this and that, because I don't want them ever to feel as if that's set in stone, because sometimes it might not be, because your body will change. Predominantly, it won't. Genetically, it can't. But just those little tweaks of like your conditioning in your legs, or your glute looks fuller on this side, everyone has something to kind of hide and then really showcase. So I am much one to tell or advise the women that I want to see your absolute best version, and that's what we're going to highlight and showcase to the judges. I'm always good with like their feedback and them giving me their input. But for me, this is something that, again, we have to go by not only the criteria, but what does your physique, what is it telling us? And what can we say? Yes, this is what I'm going to tick with all the boxes. So yeah, I would definitely tell them.
You brought up a good point, is the body can change through the prep, and sometimes you may adjust pose the way the body's looking. But you also said
Yes.
about picking the right side, because sometimes some sides are better than others. And specifically like in a front pose or something like that, where you can pick your side, whereas a quarter turn side pose, you need to hit every side. So you can't really hide. But yes,
No,
you're
hide.
right.
No.
Sometimes you need to pick your good side so that you can show it for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you work alongside coaches, the comp prep coach for those clients? Do you have many coaches that kind of interact with you, or do you find that some coaches don't really get involved, or how do you find it?
No, I do have a very, very, and I'm very grateful to, and anyone, all the coaches that are listening that I've worked with previously and soon to be. I'm very much a team player. Like, I love that about this sport, is that there are so many phenomenal coaches just like yourself, that you also don't have that specialty for the posing, that you have your female athletes go to numerous posing coaches that can get another great kind of experience and journey with them. So I do have a lot of male coaches that will, send their female athletes to me and refer me, and then it's a very much a great relationship. They pretty much are happy just for me to work with them. They don't really have so much input, but at the same time, they're happy to review our work, and I'm always open to their feedback. But yeah, I'm very happy that, yeah, they can kind of, say, oh no, go to Shez, she'll help you out. And again, from one athlete to the next athlete, they'll kind of say, yeah, it'll be nice. And it's great because we'll go back to why I did the Posing Queens. Maybe this sort of ties in it all. I've been teaching posing since 2013,
Mhm.
but in-house. So just for my own individual kind of GMF clients, with the sporadicness of like some girls will get referred and want to actually coach with me. Grayden and I started these open day workshops where it's this massive day event that you can come in and learn about bodybuilding, learn about the federation, and pose. And when I did that open day, I don't know, I can't remember what year, but when I did it, I remembered the women coming to me and needing the help. And I see that. And I see that on stage. I saw so many women that could have they had a phenomenal physique, but their posing was such a letdown, and that could interfere with their placing, as you know, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was talking to Grayden and I said, I think I want to do this. I think I want to open like an extension to the Posing Queens. And in 2023, that's when I actually made it official. I kind of launched myself to say, hey, any woman that's willing to want to learn it and learn the art. And I find the way I teach it, I look at it as art and performance. My style is very much like women like to come for me for that kind of elegance and flow, but they're all fun. Like everyone loves a bit of fun, but they do kind of like the style that I go for. Because then you can see with the women that I do coach, they're like, oh, yeah, that's Shez's or that's a queen. Like, you can just tell.
Yeah.
And I think you notice that with other posing
Yeah.
coaches too. We
100%.
have our spin. We
Mhm.
have our kind of, uniqueness about ourselves and how we deliver what we want for the women. And it's a collaborative thing. I'm not going to lie. I do have to work with what they also want, and that's great.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that's sort of when the posing queens really kicked off. So yeah, it's sort of just my new baby that's sort of really kind of flourished.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and I actually wanted to touch on that, like posing coaches in general, people wanting to become a posing coach, those kind of things. I
Mm,
don't know the environment in New South Wales. Obviously, you know it better than I do. But in
mhm.
Victoria, obviously where I am, there's a couple of key posing coaches. In Queensland, there's probably a lot more. They probably have the
Oh,
most. Yeah, to be
because
honest,
they have the most federations too, so they have to have,
they do. They
training.
do. They do have the most federations, and I would say they have the most posing coaches.
Yeah.
What's the environment like in the New South Wales with posing coaches? And do you have people come to you that want to be a posing coach and want your help at all?
Okay, that's a really good question. In New South Wales, I think I'm gonna say, and I'm only speaking for the natural federations because that's what I
Mhm.
specialize in. There's not many. So there's
Yeah.
myself, there's Beck from APS, you've got Candice. So we're kind of pockets of Sydney. She's based in the city. Candice is out in like the western area, and then I'm southwest. So you kind of got a spread of us in New South Wales. And then you've got the handful of like up and coming girls that want to, go into the posing world or posing coaching. Um, Here is one thing that I know I love to do, and I think I don't know if any other posing coaches do this, but over the weekend, uh, APS had the IFBB New South Wales NPC workshop.
Mhm.
And 2 years in a row I've attended because I again myself, I need to be a beginner. I need to know, what the federation, their changes, their posing style, and I like to indulge in learning. Like I love learning. So I was actually there on the weekend, and I found it very valuable for myself. So that way I can take back what I felt. Okay, this is something I can, give back to my women, or maybe I'd like to address something that I said, oh, that's something I might not do, So there's very much like, there's always something I can take invaluable to me, but not only to me, to other women that I'm going to sort of take on board. I haven't had anyone say to me, I want to be a posing coach. I think you have to have a passion for it. I think you
Mhm.
have to love bodybuilding. I really do. Like, if and you can see it, like you can see the many types of physiques. And even though I teach female posing for all the categories, I can still clearly men's physique, classic,
Mhm.
open bodybuilding, figure.
Mhm.
Like I'm all over it. So even though I don't coach it, I can feel those physiques, and I think that's a rarity. Like if you can do it, go. Learn from the best. Be amongst the people that you need to be, such as workshops and who you want to follow, like and attain that kind of that knowledge. So yeah, I'm all for learning. So in Sydney, we kind of keep to ourselves, but when we see each other, we'll say hi. We're very respectful, and I think that's a great thing. I'm very much like, be humble, say hi. We're all here to help
Of course,
everyone.
of course, of course. Maybe you need to open a branch of the Posing Kings and do some.
Oh, well, if maybe, I mean, Grayden is very much he does still do that. So he doesn't
Yeah.
have the kind of the amount of time to put
Mhm.
towards the posting, but there are some coaches that refer their athletes to Grayden
Yeah.
for the men's classic, men's fitness. I think all of the bodybuilding posing Grayden he specializes in. And that's, again, I think that kind of forte where maybe it could be something he'd want to do later on.
To be honest, I don't coach men, but the other boys, MG and Scotty, they do, and they find it hard to find posing coaches that will. Yeah, for males, it's really, really difficult. So, anyways, there's a gap in the
There's
market.
only
Maybe you want to fill it one day.
yeah, that's right. Well, like I said, if you guys have anyone, you can always refer them to Grayden and myself
Awesome.
if you need anyone in Sydney. Yeah, but it's really it is a specialty. So I say if anyone's looking to become one, you really got to study it. You got to be in it. You got to know it all, know all of it, and be passionate about it as well.
Yeah, I want to touch on that point. There's a couple of points you made I want to touch on, but that's the next one is the passion. I think some people think, oh, I want to be a comp prep coach. It's fun. I want to be a posing coach. It's fun, but it's a lot of work and you've got to be really passionate because you give a lot of time, energy, and effort to people. And obviously you can teach them, but it's in their own hands, but their result reflects on you. So it's actually a difficult job to have, to be honest. So I think, as you said, is you really got to love it and be passionate about it to want to be a posing coach or a coach in general, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. With me as also a comp prep coach, I only started that in 2023 myself. So that was another step towards like pretty much tying everything that I'm doing when I had a couple of my athletes. And again, we had a successful season. I did very well in terms of like all the girls that I had, and now they're in their off season, transitioning into their second season, coming in season B of this year. It's overwhelming. You can kind of go, oh gosh, you have that responsibility, but yet I think to be one, you had to do all that hard work, like do all that, background work that you did on yourself, or, you going to the shows, you understanding it from kind of like the inside out. And I think that's what helped me is that I've never stepped away from bodybuilding. I've always been there, regardless if I was coaching. But you really have to be ready for that kind of amount of work that goes into it. And that's what, because these athletes, that's their goals. These are their goals, their aspiration to step on stage, but not even just stepping on stage. You have all their reasons why, it's like, they're, I don't know, coming out of a divorce, or being a single mom and just doing it for herself. Like everyone has a purpose for competing, so that it's extra, responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you're creating like a one-stop shop in a way. You've got posing coaching, comp prep coaching, a gym. It's just got to go to one place and you get it all done.
we Grayden and I, that was our dream. I'm going to scroll back now and maybe introduce how GMF evolved, to tie in with that. Grayden and I, we opened in 2010. And Grayden said to me, I remember the conversation. He was a school teacher at the time, and I was in hotel industry. And then he said, Shez, I want to quit my job and I'm going to open up a gym. You want to do it with me? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, let's do it. No idea. I had no idea. Grayden had, since the age of 14, Michael, he's been coaching, so at a very young age, and it was embedded in him. He found a warehouse. This is our first warehouse in Liverpool, which is where we were situated. We were there for 10 years of our business. We lived in our warehouse, so that was, no one really knew that.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, so we lived there in a little tiny room in our warehouse for 2 years of opening GMF. So no one knew at the time, or only a handful of our members did. But you can't really do that now. But at the time, like warehouses, you have all these warehouses, but there was only one owner, and he had the whole complex of warehouses. And we also had a neighbor, we had a neighbor who had like a Polynesian church. They lived there on the weekends. Then we had like a neighbor that was like, doing furniture. So it wasn't common, right, at the
Mhm, mhm,
time.
mhm.
But that's how we started. We just worked and we grinded. And martial arts was the forefront of the business. And of course, as you know, it evolved. And then, of
Yeah.
course, when Grayden started to get into bodybuilding, we were always doing personal training and body transformations. And then bodybuilding really started to step in. And I think that's now what GMF is. It's Grayden's Muscle Factory. We specialize body transformation and bodybuilding comp prep. And then
Mhm.
now housing, I'm a Sydney, New South Wales rep for Kini Couture. So you've got,
Yes,
your posing suits and your trunks. So it's sort of like a one-stop shop.
it
Some of the
is.
girls were
It
like,
honestly
"Are
is.
you
Yeah.
going to have shoes?" And I was like, "Oh no, I haven't got shoes yet, but I think I'll go one at a time." But I think we envisioned it. We built GMF from the ground up, so that is our home. We bought that in COVID.
Mm, that's
So
crazy.
we bought our gym in COVID. COVID was a blessing because yes, it was hard, but at the time we were able to get GMF ready with the refurbishment and getting it all done. And GMF was built by our members because we have the guys who are like electricians to, who did the flooring. Ian, you probably heard of Ian Silver
Mhm,
Fox.
mhm,
He
yes.
was like painting, yeah, like painting all the walls. So yeah, GMF was literally built by the community. So we're very blessed.
Yeah, it is an amazing facility. Obviously, I went there last year for the workshop, and when I walked in, I was like, "Wow, look at this place! It's incredible! Like the equipment is really, really good. Some really good quality pieces. I know if Scotty walked in, he'd love it because there's some things in there. It's like, wow, this is some really, really good stuff. And there's a lot of
Yeah,
memorabilia, and you guys are all on posters for all different federations, and it's all hanging up. And yeah, it's
yeah.
awesome facility.
Yeah, we love that old school vibe. I think Grayden and I also spent a lot of time researching some equipment, which we still are. We're always after kind of those historical pieces and
Mhm.
kind of unique pieces. And yeah, whenever Scotty's down, I know that the next upcoming workshop he can't make it, but maybe in the future one he'll come down and he can check
Yep.
it out.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so let's talk about what's next and what's coming up for you guys, and what's happening for this season for 2025. Anything interesting? Let me know.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we'll start with our workshop. So the Posing Queens and NBA, we have a workshop for everyone. Oh, sorry, for the female competitors, Saturday the 15th of March. So that's a very much open, like it's still like an open day workshop. I like a good workshop where the women can take away a lot of info, get a vibe of your federation, and so some really good insights from yourself that you're coming. And yeah, that's really exciting. I personally myself, go to other natural federations and I also help with their workshops. So I'm very much across the board in terms of neutral. Like I like to kind of spread myself if I can. So that's the posing queen side of things. The girls are getting ready, so they're really good. Like my comp girls, I have a few. I've got like three first timers in season. Sorry, two in season A and
Mhm.
three in season B. I like to keep it small because again, it's nice to kind of have an intimate kind of group of girls to look after for comp prep. My lifestyle girls, like I said, they're ongoing. They're great. They're always a bunch of a great way to start your day, I guess.
Mhm.
um, 2025 for myself and our family is going to be huge. I think because Grayden's competing, we've already sort of felt that attention, with him during prep. And when he's in prep, um, I'm hyper focused. I think I guess you would know that too when you're in prep and your partner, and then everything's in sync. Like you're just sort of working towards the same goal.
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
though I'm not on stage, he's going on stage, we're still, it's always that kind of we've always worked as a team. So yeah, that's really big. Season B, it's looking good for GMF. We also have a few of our guys coming to the shows, and we're loving that Nationals is going to be held in Sydney, both
Yeah, it's close. Yeah.
both A and B, and so we're looking forward to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot happening. Hope to open another open day. So season A, because Grayden's in comp prep, we couldn't. So we've sort of said, we prioritize, as you have to
Mm,
sacrifice
of course.
certain things, but we're going to be back ready for season B. And I know the competitors and athletes will definitely look forward to that. So we'll kind of open up and save a date in that sort of season. But yeah, it's going really well. Like it's already started, but it's already nice. And starting off with you with the my first ever podcast.
Yeah, well, it's been great talking to you. As I said, it was just going to be us having a chat and catching up, and I think
It
you
did
gave
feel
us
like that.
yeah, it gave us a lot of really, really good insights. I like to dive in a little bit deeper with some of the posing stuff because I know a lot of females listen to the podcast, and I think they'll get a lot out of it. Obviously, coming up with the season very, very soon, and hopefully they come to your workshops as well. And if they see you at a show, make sure they come up and say hello to you as well.
Say hi, yeah, and interact, and make new friends. And I think that's what the community needs, is just to connect more. And that's with us open doing these workshops and having the shows, is just the workshops leading into the shows is just everyone can meet up and make those connections. So yeah, looking forward to it all.
Awesome. Just let us know where everyone can find you on socials.
Yeah, so they can find me on at the Posing Queen. So that's specifically for women who, again, want to come across and learn all the art of posing. Then they can find me also on GMF team. So that's for our GMF, my gym. And then my personal one, which I love because that's my family. You get to see kind of the insides of my life. That's Cherilyn LEONG. So there's a few in there, but they're all connected. So you can kind of find me. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was great chatting to
Thank you,
you, and
Michael.
I will see you very, very soon.
Very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.